Hello, everyone. Good evening, and I guess good evening for the people who are in this, time zone. But good morning if somebody else is from morning time zone. Welcome to this session. Uh, so let's get started with some introductions. Uh, I am Sandeep, and I work here full time. I live in New Jersey, and I 2 years back I took this online course on Raj Yoga meditation, and since then I have been on this journey of, I should say, self exploration, if I can say that, and uh, and I just started attending some of these meetings and helping with some of these meetings. So that's about me. We have Sister Kanupriya, who is the speakers for today evening. Welcome, Sister. Thanks for joining. Would you like to say a few words before we get into the session?
Yeah, sure. So thank you and for the warm welcome. And I just want to uh, let everyone know that today's discussion is aimed to be a discussion and not a one-way talk. So please feel free to write your comments and your thoughts, suggestions, whatever you would like to share with all of us uh, via chat. You could do that. And if time permitting, towards the end of the session, we'll see if we can unmute you too. But we have thought of the session as an interactive session, so there will be lots of questions asked to you too. And of course, it'll be a discussion more between the two of us. Um, looking forward to this session because it's a topic that I have been thinking about of late quite a bit, and really close to the heart, this topic. Recently I was visiting our headquarters in India, which is in Mount Abu, Rajasthan, and I spent about a month there, and that is where these thoughts about what is it that we can do to make our lives happy. We all are in some way we are looking for this thing about happiness, right? In whatever we do. So what is it that we can really do, right? Can we first of all do something about being happy, and if yes, then what is it that we can do? So we are going to share some thoughts around that. So maybe
Thank
Brother
you.
can.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that since this is a topic of happiness, and as you rightly said, this is going to be a discussion where people can chime in and share their views. So I was thinking that how about if we start by answering this question that what makes us happy, right? So if you know you can answer, let's say, 3 points, something like 3 points that you think that makes you happy. What are the first three things come to your mind? And if you would, just write it on chat, and then we can start from there. Just feel free to, whatever comes to your mind when I say what makes you happy.
So I hope that question is for us also, right? So I'm
Yeah,
also
of course it
thinking.
is for us too. So while I think everybody takes a moment to chat, I can start,
Mhm.
answering for myself that
Okay, go
what
ahead.
makes me happy. When this question, when I started thinking about this, the first thing that happened is I started thinking about what made me happy. Right. So some of the thoughts that went along that, okay, when I was young, I used to fly kites and I was very happy. Or when I was in school, I would, do few things that made me happy, and so on and so forth. And then I realized that why I am thinking about what made me happy, right? I was trying to ask myself, what makes me happy, which means right now, you know, in the current whatever time frame you want to put to that, what makes me happy today is what is the question. So anyway, that's how my mind went. So some things, little things that that actually makes me happy. I was thinking that, for example, having your favorite food sometimes can make you happy. Just about that. Nature is something that I think definitely has a place in that list for me. Right? Sometimes just sitting, during the night and watching moon makes me happy. And if I can say that happy, probably we'll talk in that about that expression a little bit more. But at this point, it comes to my mind that that is something that probably makes me happy. So I'll keep on blabbering about this maybe some more during the session about my thoughts. So let's see. Yeah. Would you like to share something about what do you think?
Yeah, I've also been thinking, and some of the things are common. I think many people are writing nature and family and friends. But what is it even within family and friends? I was reflecting that for me, it is probably when meeting a loved one, right? Then when you meet, then especially in these times of COVID, meeting has a special significance, I think. So, not that it was less important earlier, but meeting a loved one definitely. And then um, receiving a pleasant surprise, probably that is another one that makes one very happy. And also um, some kind of feeling of, being loved unconditionally, that also brings a lot of happiness for me. So, thank you. I can see that most of you have answered. So, thank you for sharing. And we'll definitely come back to this question or your answers in a little while.
Mhm.
Yes, brother.
Yeah. So I was saying,
Mhm.
how about, we look at some, I think I have a slide I can share, if you, at this point,
Mhm.
I wanted to share this. So what are the general, we have talked about a little bit, all of us, that what makes us happy and what is generally considered, so a call during the session does not make me happy. So let me put my phone on silent. So what is the general beliefs, in the society? For example, some of the things that trying to, think about that what makes people happy. And so let's try to see, bring. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay, let me hide this. All right. So I think some of these things came to me. I was thinking that I would not say that it's like everybody here, right? But some of these things we know by our observation and experience that while living in societies, these things comes to mind, about happiness. So like fame, how your physical appearance, sometimes you feel having the power, and the power could be, I was thinking, even small things, right? Uh, Power doesn't mean political power necessarily, or, some kind of, sometimes even a small power over someone. Sometimes we try to, influence people, even our loved ones sometimes, right? That how do we, and we probably think that that also makes us happy. Uh, yeah. So some of these things came to my mind. Let me know if you think something about on this line too.
Yeah. Also, power may mean that just feeling important, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Having influence is, of course, an extension of feeling important, probably.
Yeah.
But yes, power, position, and wealth and sense objects. So,
Mm.
after looking at your list, I'm actually thinking, and also what everybody's writing in, we have a huge
Mhm.
list. So thank you. Most of us are writing family, friends, and
Yeah.
some of us are writing about God and traveling and spending time with the loved ones, being inner peace. And Shirali saying being content and walk in the nature, knowing the self, connecting with God and pets and everything, right?
Yeah.
Peace of mind, health is another one. Yes, Sandra, thank you for sharing
Mhm.
that. And uh, Ukti is writing that she's attending our morning class, and that makes her happy. Singing, yeah, our hobbies make us happy too, right?
Yeah.
Seeing our son, like our loved ones, being happy also, right? And then running is another hobby. Alone time, a lot of us enjoy this alone time.
Yeah.
Sure, brother Sandeep can share some more on that. And again, contentment. So we have few contentments, right? And spouse, home, family, accomplishments, right, whatever we
Mhm.
can do successfully, if we reach our goal, then we feel happy. And Abby is saying giving. Yes, we are going to talk about giving more in some time too. So thank you for all of you for sharing
So
these thoughts.
I was thinking, since you were reading all of this, so what is it? So if I have to, and again, I'm this question, asking this question to myself and probably to you, and of course to everybody else here. So that what is? So if we have to say that, what is happiness, right? So we all are saying that this makes me happy, that makes me happy, and so if you really have to think about what is happiness, and frankly, my maybe I will go first because I don't want you to influence my thoughts based on what you say. So for me, frankly, I was not able to put words around that to define what is happiness. Of course, you can look up a dictionary and it will say about feeling of sensation of this and that, and there are some scientific things about it that when you are happy, something happens in your brain and all of that. But if I was thinking for myself, I didn't have any explanation to say, because this is more like a feeling, right? So it's like many things in I was, and the way I was, churning within myself is uh, like, for example, if somebody asks you, what is health? So it's kind of difficult to directly say probably what is health, uh, because when you are healthy and all good, you don't think about health. You think when it is not there, when there is a uh, it is not there, then you think about, and then you say that this is what health was. But when you are healthy, you don't actively think about it. And if I have to write what is health, probably I will say that when this and this is not there, then what is left is health, right? So similarly for happiness, I was thinking that one of the things that came to my mind that when there is no, uh, you know, uh, so in the inner conflict, so to say, right? By inner conflict, what I mean is there is so much that we continuously think about ourselves, that if I, for example, that I have to do exercise in the morning, and if I don't do it, then I feel, there's a conflict within myself that I did not do it. Or for example, I was not supposed to, let's say, eat something for whatever reason because it is not healthy and it will, but I by chose to eat it. So then there is the, inner conflict happening within me that, okay, I should not have done this. So a lot of things like that, and that could be because of, in the culture we have grown, in the family we have grown, in the workplace you're working. So basically we draw these comparisons of ourselves, and things like that. So one thing that came to my mind is that when I am, for example, at up in the morning and spend some time in meditation, let's say, so there's a time where, you know uh, these thoughts are not there. There is nothing to conflict with, and probably that feeling is happiness. That's one thing. But I don't know, what will you say about what is happiness?
Yeah, very nice. In a way, we are saying that when we come into our truth or when we align to our own truth, there is no conflict, and our true state is, that of happiness, actually. What came up for me when I was thinking about what happiness means to me or what is happiness to me,
Mhm.
um, I again thought of what feeling I have when I say that I'm happy. So, of course, there is definitely a feeling of lightness for me,
Yeah.
that you feel free in many ways, not burdened by anything. It could be a situation, a person, any circumstance, something that makes you feel heavy. But even for yourself, something within yourself makes you unhappy sometimes. So this feeling of lightness definitely is an indication for me that there is happiness within. The other thing that definitely tells me that I'm happy is that there is contentment in whatever I'm doing. It may not be um, in the eyes of the society or in the larger world. It may not be viewed as success, or it may not be defined as um, the best that could have been. But for me, I put in my best and I'm content. That makes me feel happy, right? And it may
Mhm.
be even regarded as failure, something as a failure in
Mhm.
by others, but I feel happy because I'm content. I know that I did the best. So that is another thing that came up for me. And also, I was thinking that if we were to really look at happiness, then there are two kinds of happiness, that we probably all are aware about. And today we'll try to focus on one kind, which is the two kinds is, one kind we can say happiness that comes out of temporary things, things that are changing, right? So I eat a chocolate, I feel happy, definitely, right? Um, but
Right.
what is it that I'm still looking for, right? Just eating chocolate after chocolate doesn't make me happy forever.
Mhm.
Those who are from economics background, they'll probably understand the law of diminishing returns, right? The more chocolate you eat, the lesser return or happy you feel. In this case, happiness is the return of eating chocolate. Um, so is it
Interesting.
just chocolate that I want to derive happiness from, or is it something more that we are looking for? And
Mhm.
definitely the answer for me is that we're looking for something more. What do you think?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Exactly. So, um, I would like to share, I mean, and so just coming back to my previous point, I don't, it may help somebody because when I was going through this thought about what is happiness and what I was talking about inner conflict, I came across, what I don't know, probably some of you may have heard about Mahatma Gandhi. So he said something that resonated. He was a freedom fighter. I mean, he led that in India back in the 1900s, right? Uh, so he said something. I would like to share that quote for with everybody, just in case if it resonates. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So let me see. I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes.
Okay, nice. This thing. Where is that option? Yeah. So I guess in some way, probably I was also thinking about the same thing, right? So what he's saying is, it is when happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. So in some sense, yeah, I mean, this look like, so he said it, I mean, I said it in different words. I was thinking and probably in different order, but he said it very nicely. So I thought I'll share this with everyone. It really resonated with me when I came across this one. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
So beautiful, right? That
yeah,
again, there is alignment here, so
correct.
it is definitely um, uh, some sort of extrapolation of what you are thinking comes into action, and also yeah, you are able to do something about it. So um, that
So
definitely brings happiness.
I mean, and I was thinking about the point that you made about eating chocolate, and then so what comes to my mind by hearing that example is, and the things that I was also saying about that this makes me happy. Um, that this thing that we are calling happiness, or this feeling of having happiness through whatever means it is, right? It could be, yes, a lot of people have said nature. I also said nature, and it could be eating something, it could be meeting loved ones. But uh, what it seems to come and go with certain, I should say, circumstances of life, right? Or in a certain state in which we are at that particular moment. So, and so is it possible, for example, what I was asking myself, that is it possible to be, is it even possible, right? For example, we talk about these fairy tale ending movies, right? Towards the, at least I remember in Bollywood movies, that's how they will end, right? When something is about to happen, and they will say the movie ends, and then they will say such and such lived happily ever after, right? And that's where the movie will end. So the question is that, is there something after that ending happens? Meaning that, is it even possible to think about, happily ever after? Or is it that it will always be fleeting, and, in that sense, is what I was thinking. What do you think? What is your thought about it?
Yeah, so this is where we were saying that, the two kinds of happiness, no? Temporary
Mhm.
happiness, and we can say the other is long-lasting happiness, happiness forever, the fairy tale ending, whatever you want to call it, constant kind of happiness. When we see that, that that contrast, when one is able to see between temporary happiness and this long lasting happiness, constant happiness, is where one is able to really make a choice, right? And it requires some kind of discernment or some kind of sharpness of the intellect for one to be able to distinguish between the two. So definitely, if there was something like that, if there wasn't something like constant happiness, then we would all be very happy with just eating chocolate or buying a new shoe, or um, whatever else that we think that is making us happy, right?
Mm.
But inherently, I think we are still looking for something more. In spite, we may have all of these things that we all listed for ourselves, right? What makes us happy, but
Yeah.
we are still yeah, wanting to know more about happiness, because there is something that
Correct.
we feel is missing, that is not constant, right? We want to be happy forever. And now Raj Yoga is telling us, right, in meditations or even in our daily lives, there is a state that is possible where the mind does not know a trace of sorrow, right? And is can be constantly happy. That in fact is the original nature of each one of us. And this each one of us, we are talking about the soul, the point of light. So when this is the innate original nature, then why are we not experiencing this happiness?
Yeah.
So one needs to understand and develop the intellect, to sharpen the intellect, to distinguish between the temporary and the long-lasting happiness.
I see. Well, I was thinking when you said about this, that yes, why is it that, yes, we think that this and that makes us happy. And the word that was coming to my mind is seeking, right? That we are constantly seeking something more, even though we think that such and such or so and so makes us happy, or whatever it is. But at least I can speak for myself that there is a constant seeking of, I would not say call it happiness, but that there is something more to know about, you know, if you want to call it life, or, you said, how we have to realize and understand that, that as a soul, the true nature of the soul itself is innate peace. So, and somehow we are separated from that feeling. Yes, but I like the abstract version of it where I say that I don't know, but yes, there is definitely some kind of a seeking, no matter whatever. And in fact, if you look at the way I was thinking is whatever we are doing in our lives, right? It could be our job, it could be pursuing our hobby, it could be trying to earn money, it could be trying to just make a living for our friends and family or whatever, right? But what is the underlying thing that we all are looking for, right? There's And probably I was thinking that we just want to be, happy. Right? No matter what we are seeking, somebody might be jumping from a mountain, right? Doing some kind of a sports to get that rush. But what does that mean? What is the underlying thing that, is he or she is risking his life? But what is the underlying, desire, or if I can use that word, to, you are looking for? And probably that is happiness. And that's why that question came to my mind that, when you, for example, the adventure sports, right? It gives you a rush. But then when you come back, you start to feel, to miss it, that you want to go again, right? And I think same thing with the example that you said about chocolate. It is probably like the same thing. When you have that trigger, you feel it, and then you feel like you are missing it. So the question, I think, that is coming to my mind, that then, is it really a choice, to be happy, or is it that just we live by these uh, triggers, or if I say external circumstances that we come across, or is it something that we can choose to be happy?
Yeah, very good question. And this example of adventure sports or chocolate or whatever else, it's reminding me of my childhood, when at one point I wanted to buy a shoe, right? And we went to the shop. I went with my mother, and when I looked at the shoe, which I really liked, it was very expensive. So mom said that, next time, let's go back home and we'll think about it, kind of. So um, when I came back, and I was a little child, and I came back, I was like, okay, whatever mom says is fine,
Mhm.
is fine. But I slept and I got a dream about that shoe. And in the
Yes.
morning, I told my mom that, I got a dream about the shoe. So she then was like, okay, now we need to go and get it. Now you're getting dreams about it. So I was so happy, after we got the shoe. But uh, what was it? I was deriving pleasure every time I wore that shoe. I would really take care of the shoe so that it doesn't get spoiled, to keep it polished and nice
Mhm.
and clean and everything. And also look for compliments from my friends and family every time I wore that shoe. So that made me very happy. But this also makes one, in a way, addictive, right? Or dependent on that shoe. It could be adventure sports, like he was saying that, oh, after
Mhm.
I come back or after I eat the chocolate, or after I do bungee jumping and come back, I'm looking for the next adventure, or I'm looking for the next bite of chocolate, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes very addictive, the temporary happiness. And that is one sign that one becomes dependent, first of all, on that happiness and looking for more and more. But also, there is addiction, right, in some way or the other. And there is a whole list of things that you can think of, which seem very innocent, but we are addicted to, right? We all have been hearing about being addicted to YouTube and all the
Yeah.
social media and TV and all
Yeah.
the gadgets and anything. It could be food, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, it doesn't have to be. It may be the other addictions too, but even these innocent looking things we can become addicted to, and that causes unhappiness, because the more we become dependent on it, and then if we
Yeah.
don't get that thing, then or we don't get the same level of high that we get with the first chocolate that we eat, right?
Exactly.
And then
Yeah.
I eat
Yeah.
10 chocolates also, I'm not getting that kind of happiness, then I feel unhappy. So,
Mhm.
um, definitely one can choose to be happy, not based on things that are changing, that are temporary, that are perishable, right? And that
Mhm.
includes everything in this whole wide world, the physical world, right?
Yeah.
That includes the body, and that includes the way I look, that includes all the material possessions I have, that includes the status I have in the society, the job I have, the money kind of wealth I have, and all the objects that give me sense pleasures. Everything in this physical world is temporary, right? And we can choose not to be dependent or derive happiness out of those temporary things. But then, is there an option, right? What
Yeah.
is the option? How do I discover that innate nature of happiness? And for that, we are seeing that the more we learn about the self, right, and our true innate nature, our true home, our true family, then which is beyond this physical realm, beyond this physical world, then we start to discover that true happiness, which is based on things that are constant, that are never changing, yeah, timeless. So those that kind of discovery for the self brings us closer to that long lasting happiness. And
Yeah.
that is why we need to develop some habits, which is really where we are coming to now, that what is it that we can do to really discover.
Exactly. That's what I was going to ask. You
Okay.
so nicely explained about it. So, and I was thinking constantly, I know I mean, we have been in some sessions, so I was thinking about it, that what is it that, this thing that you are saying, that we have a choice, that um, what can we do about this, to, to voluntarily choose for this choice, if I can say, and what can we do to create this, habit of happiness? Yeah, if you can say something about
Yeah,
that.
one more thing, why are we saying that it's a choice, is
Hmm.
also because many times we feel that we can have both, right? We
Yeah,
can have the
I do.
chocolate and we can also be in bliss, right?
Right.
So um, what we are saying is that, the more indulgent we become in the temporary happiness, right, of the chocolate or whatever else, it could be even a relationship that we are indulging in, right? So
Mm.
the more we become indulgent in a relationship, it actually takes us away from that higher happiness, because the indulgence is actually of some kind of sense pleasures from the physical world, from the physical realm. So it is that happiness is of a lower nature, and if we want to rise above the happiness of the lower nature, then we need to disengage in a way. from that happiness. That it does not mean that I don't eat chocolate, right?
Mhm.
It does not mean that I don't use YouTube, that I don't go for, if I want to go, I should be free to go for adventure sports too, right? Whatever I want
Yeah.
to, I do it, but the inner tuning is a little different when I'm eating chocolate, for example, right? Or buying a new shoe. So, what is that tuning that I need to um, have in my mind is what is I would call a habit, right?
Yeah.
And that habit is of freedom. It could be freedom to use the thing, right? Or eat a chocolate or whatever, right? And
Mhm.
but be free in the mind, not derive pleasure out of it. So
Yeah.
the more we start to become dependent, we have expectations, we have desires from that thing. And then we are seeing that we go sort of in a downward spiral where we are becoming, we want more and more and more of that thing, or even a relationship, or even for ourselves, right? We expect more and more from ourselves that we should be doing this, we should be doing that. So it just takes us in that downward spiral, that kind of dependency. But the
Mhm.
more we become free internally, we see that, okay, if there is chocolate, I'm happy, but my happiness is not derived from that chocolate, right? So, in case there comes a time that there is no chocolate, then too I am happy. My happiness comes from beyond any sense pleasures. That is higher happiness. And that happiness is what is long lasting, that stays forever, that is imperishable.
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
think it's an easy choice. What do you
Well,
think?
it's
Is it
definitely sounds like an easy choice. In fact, the easiest choice of all, right? I mean, if there could be something of that sort, yes, it sounds like an easy choice, definitely. So, and this thing about freedom, when you mentioned, I was thinking this was probably one of the main things that, at least when I was thinking, and somehow when I was talking, it didn't come to my mind at the time, that this underlying thing about freedom, right, is also, I think, one of the, I was thinking, at least for me, main things that uh, probably, if I can say, drives happiness for me, right? That freedom to choose, freedom to be, at whatever time, whatever you want to do. You feel, I mean, at least for me, I feel most, if I can say, unhappy or not so happy, I should say, when you feel like you are in a situation where you are trying to comply with something, you know, in fact, even in case of, I mean, this is an example that came to my mind, that sometimes during the job, even though I like my job, I mean, there are situations where you have to do things only when, because you have to comply with certain rules, right? And even though your boss will end up saying that, come on, just do it because we have been asked to do, even if it is not logical, we have to comply with certain rules and you do it, right? So I was thinking about this example, that this is the kind of situation where you feel most trapped and you feel like, you know and probably the root cause is just because you're somebody, it feels like somebody is curbing your freedom to be, and you just feel unhappy. And similarly, when I'm around somebody, let's say it could be an acquaintance or a friend, which may not be necessarily, I'm not saying that the person itself is bad, or in any way, but it is just that my thought process is not aligned, but you have to be with him or her because of whatever certain circumstances, and then suddenly I start to feel that I'm trapped in a situation. And again, I think the underlying thing is that you just want to, you know um, freedom is probably the underlying need there. And once, so yeah, so when you were saying freedom, it occurred to me that I was thinking about it, and somehow when I was talking, it didn't come to me at that time. Yeah, so that's definitely one of the factors for driving happiness. Anyway, so coming back to the important topic, right? So we were talking about, you mentioned about that, yes, we can choose, and there are, habits of happiness. So if you can say something more about, what are those habits that can lead us to this choice?
maybe I want to ask everyone with us, who's with us, what do you think? Is it an easy choice to choose between
Of course.
temporary and, or do you think you can have both? or would you rather have both? Or but like we explained, right? We may want to have both, but we see that we get trapped in temporary happiness. It doesn't let us
Yeah.
go towards higher happiness. Is it an easy choice? You can type via chat. Is it an easy choice for you, Brother Sandeep?
I said it sounds like an easy choice. Definitely, there's no doubt about that, because you want to be that. So, but I think uh, it's not so easy also, because um, these habits of short-lived happiness are so strong that I think you get drawn to them very easily. And then, as you are saying, I mean, thankfully, and I'm not saying anybody is doing anything bad, but for example, any kind of addiction may not be. I was thinking, for example, when you say addiction, it came to me like things about if you smoke or something that makes you dependent, but it could be actually anything, right? Even small things like eating chocolate, for example, it is for me eating sweets, right? So I love sweets, so it becomes addictive. Sometimes I think that I will eat only one, and then I don't realize when I have eaten 5 or 6 of them. So you just keep on feeding yourself with that. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that it is definite. It sounds like that we should have it in terms of choice, but then because probably of the habits that I have of getting drawn to this short-lived happiness, I think that's what makes it difficult. So I don't know how to break it. Is what I want to say, right? Probably I'm thinking, and I was thinking that you are right, that if we are trapped in the sense that if the mind is continuously involved in this short-lived happiness, then probably it is difficult to shift your perspective to what you are saying. And it seems like a uh, almost natural thing to me that if you are trapped continuously in this lower states of happiness, then you can't see the bigger perspective. It's about like seeing the perspective. When you are on the ground floor, you can't see the top view from, which you can see from the top of the building. So something like that, I'm guessing.
Yes. Yes, so we have a few answers, and majority are saying it is not easy to make a choice. Okay, but we have Prachi, who's, providing
Uh-huh.
us more insights, and she's the only one who's saying it's easy if you are in a
Okay.
habit of being soul conscious, which is typically hard.
So not easy in a different way, I guess.
Yeah, but it just takes practice, which I agree with, right?
Yeah.
That is why we are discussing these habits of happiness,
Hmm.
that um, that will lead us to a place where we are able to make that choice. And like we said earlier on, that it requires a sharp intellect to make that choice. The moment we start to see the contrast clearly, that, oh, this is temporary happiness and this is long lasting, then then there is discernment. But right now we are so engrossed in that cycle of just attaining temporary happiness, that, like Sandeep was also mentioning, that it's difficult to break out of it. So these moments of meditation actually help in that um, um, in that
In,
effort of coming out,
Mhm.
breaking out of that habit. So maybe we will go to a slide, and then we can discuss some of the habits. Of course, the first and foremost habit would be to be free, right? But be free from what? All things. Freedom is a big part of this habit of happiness, where there is no dependency. And how do we come into the state of no dependency, right? So of course, first, we all hear about letting go of the past. So that past be brings about a lot of burden in a way, right? We feel heavy from the past. Of course, there is bad memories that tie us down, but also I noticed, that even the good memories tie us down. mm. Um, so we think that, oh, there is joy in the good memories of the past. Yes, at certain level there is, but it is still tying us down to the physical realm, right? It is not, if we didn't have those good memories, then we would feel sad. And that is not a state that really we are looking for. That long lasting happiness is very different. It is not dependent on um, any kind of past or future even, right? um, and the other one is false identities. So we have been we did touch upon what is our true identity, what is this innate original nature that we talk about, and who's it, um, that we are talking about. It is this soul, the point of light, the one who's immortal, imperishable, right? Living conscient being. And we see that living being is using this body, right? In my case, Kanupriya is like a role that this innate living conscient being is um, playing, right? But this um, soul, the being of light, he belongs to another world, that is the constant world, the world that is imperishable, the world that is never changing. So, the more we think of ourselves in the true identity state, right, as a point of light, in the true home, with the true family, we discover this long lasting happiness more and more. But this freedom from false identities also requires training of the mind, right? That no, I'm not Kanupriya, right? Kanupriya is just a role that I'm playing. For example, I'm just acting as Kanupriya, like in a movie, right? So these reminders actually help us, right? That I'm not a mother, I'm not a employee, I'm not, these are all roles that I'm playing, right? This is not my true identity. So coming to the true identity state makes us free from the false identities. And all the temporary happiness that we are associating ourselves with and going after the temporary happiness are all based on false identities. Somebody who thinks that I'm an employee, then for him, promotion may bring a lot of happiness, right? Because job is of importance. For someone for whom being a mother is important, right? Then the son being happy mm, brings about happiness to her. But if the son is unhappy, then that brings sadness. So there is dependency there, right? So becoming free from these false identities takes us towards, the true happiness. Then another thing, I don't know, I just want to take a pause and see if Brother Sandeep also has um, any thoughts about any of these things, or even if any of the people who are
Yeah,
participating, if they have any questions, please stop us and um, pose your questions. If you don't agree with something, please do ask us. Via chat, you could do that.
sure. What I think what was going through my mind about, I already said that there are habits that, yeah, that needs to be broken. And this thing about, two things that actually is resonating with me is one is having expectations. And for example, having an expectation, um, right now, in fact, also, right, that very, very subtle expectation that what I am going to say, whether this will resonate with, let's say, with you or with everybody else is listening or not. Is that, that's also an expectation is what was going through my mind. I mean, and I was, the thought process in me was that probably doesn't matter. I'm just sharing how I feel about this. And yes, in some sense that I am hoping that, somebody who is spending time here on Monday evening probably gets something, but that's also an expectation, is what I was thinking. Um, and this thing about, and what is it that is causing that expectation? Can it be, I was asking this question, I don't know the exact answer at this point, but this thing about false identities that that we have, probably one of that is getting triggered. Anyway, so that's what was going through my mind when you were talking about this.
Yeah, very nice. So about expectations, how do we become free from expectations and desires? Because it seems so natural, right?
Yeah.
That we have expectations. If maybe even if we don't have expectations out of material things, or if we don't have
Exactly.
expectations even from other people, but we definitely have expectations from ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So how can one be free? Is it actually possible to live a life which is free from desires and expectations? And spirituality is telling us that answer is yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, you know, we are actually born free from expectations, but it is only when we come in this world and we form these bondages or these dependencies on either the body, the way we look, or, relationships,
Yeah.
or whatever else we spoke about, job and wealth and whatever. That is where we tie ourselves down. We trap ourselves unknowingly, innocently, maybe, right? Out of ignorance, we can say we are tying ourselves down in these expectations. So when we come into our, original, again, awareness, where we think of ourselves, or where we realize that we are actually visitors in this temporary world, right? Everything is going to end. Everything in this world is changing, right?
Mhm.
Even this body, we are going to leave and go, right? So, is it wise to really expect something from, say, my appearance? Because when I know it is changing, right, then it is like a race against time, that we are expecting myself to be looking the same way or whatever, right?
Yeah.
After a few years. So these kind of expectations seem sort of start to lose their grip over you once you start to see the reality of the soul, uh,
Mhm.
and you start to really see distinctly that this is based on false identity and the other thing is based on true identity. And then it's really a choice for us, right? Where
Yeah.
we want to go. That also includes the old habits, right? And
Yeah.
I'm calling them old for a purpose because we all think of ourselves based on what personality we think we have, right? And
Mhm.
that personality, now spirituality is telling us that personality is again based on the role that we are playing, based on how we were brought up in the society, based on the culture, on our family. Many things influence those habits, right?
Yeah.
And those habits are again not our original habits. For example, I have a habit of being angry, right? I have a very strong head and I get very short tempered, right? So irritated with many things, frustrated, upset, whatever. So if I keep telling myself, that, oh, this is the way I am, and that's
Yeah.
how everybody has to accept me, and I also believe that I'm an angry person, then I can never be happy, right?
Yeah.
Because that is something that I don't even know if I can change, right? But now with spiritual knowledge, we come to know that I'm actually not Kanupriya, right? Kanupriya is a temporary role I'm playing. And the original self is this soul whose innate nature is peace, not anger. So the more I think about this true identity again, I disassociate myself with the old habits that I have. Of course, it takes time to change those habits, the old habits, but it definitely helps to not think of those old habits, even if we may be still, in my case, getting angry at certain things. But what I've seen is that the intensity and the frequency of that anger keeps reducing the more we ingrain ourselves in this practice of being a soul, right? And understanding what that really means, experiencing what a soul conscious person would feel. Another, practice that helps one be free from expectations is that of a detached observer, right? That one is watching everything, but is not really involved, right? How you, when you go to watch a movie, the more we see the movie and the actors in the movie, and we don't associate with them, we are able to enjoy the movie. Now, sometimes we end up crying. Some people end up crying in the movie is when they start to think of themselves in that movie as if they are um, whatever is happening in the movie is actually happening to them, and that's when they start to be so emotional and start crying, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is also sort of some sort of expectation dependency that is coming in, and one can be free from all of that when one is just a detached observer and audience. Then one can be even stable when one is free from expectations. There is more clarity that comes in. And addictions, we definitely spoke about, right? It could be addictions, as we know, of alcohol and drugs and whatever, but also addictions in any temporary sense pleasures that also included. And it
Yeah.
includes this addiction of lust and having a physical relationship, watching TV, something simple as YouTube and whatever else, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm sure. I mean, we have been, I mean, at least I have, we can see that we start by thinking that, okay, I'll just watch a little bit of something, and then you keep on scrolling and you forget what you're doing, and an hour and a half or two is gone, right? On social media. I mean, very simple thing, looks very innocent. You start with, thinking that you don't even think that you will spend so much time, but somehow you get. And then, I mean, so this is something that, and I think I have broken out of this habit, but this became a problem for me where the first thing I would do in the morning after getting up is take the phone and scroll and look for news, and then keep on scrolling on the social media for some time until I realize, okay, I have to get ready for office or whatever it is that I have to do. So yeah, I can totally relate to it, at least personally. And what you said about habit, in fact, I was thinking that at least until maybe a lot of for most of my life, I thought that I am the sum total of my habits in some sense. That this is me, this is me, this is me, this is me. All these things that I do, probably makes me me. Is what So yeah, yeah. So I'm working on some of these things. So thanks for sharing on this one.
yeah.
Anything else you want to add? I was thinking if you can also say about some of these points where why is the probably, I don't know if you're planning to go over these. I think we are almost on time also, but if you could spend some time talking about this define your day thing, because when I read this I feel like, and then I was thinking about
Loss of
the,
freedom.
yeah, exactly, loss of freedom. because we are also saying about being spontaneous, and I feel like these two are contradictory. I mean, that's what I was thinking, right? That
Mhm.
how can I be defined, and that means adhere to a discipline and then also be spontaneous. Is that even possible, and how?
Yeah. So, yeah, first I want to acknowledge Sandra's
Mm-hmm.
comment that she agrees that social media is also in the addiction category because she also doesn't realize many times that she has been scrolling for an hour, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And Prachi says that we should be minding the mind to avoid waste thoughts. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, nicely said.
That is actually, we can say, the reason that we are saying that define your day, right? Many times what happens is it helps. Yeah. I mean, scientifically also things like exercise, including some sort of exercise every day in and fix a time as much as possible. Try to stick to that time for exercise. Take some time for yourself. Take some time to meditate and reflect. Some, have some introspection time. It Those are some few things. Yeah, if you have time and more interest, then takes time to study something spiritual, something higher, right? So all of these things actually, that is what we mean, make a routine. Otherwise what happens, we just keep um postponing things, or we don't do things, we just do things randomly. Yeah, we'll eat at certain time, we'll just um go for a walk at whatever. So all that is good, to be spontaneous too, and that is something that I've also mentioned, that listen to your heart. But to have a routine for your regular activities, and make some of those things non-negotiable, that anything happens, I will do this, I will take time for myself. Maybe on a day when I have more time, I will take 1 hour to meditate, maybe, right? But on a day that I'm very busy, actually that's the day that I need more meditation, I need the to exercise more, right?
Yeah,
So maybe the time is shorter that I can devote to meditation and reflection and exercise, but I still do it. And that sort of sets me in a tone, that these are the things that anyways make me happy, right? So
yeah,
busy day when I know I'm going to have a lot of things to think, other things to think about, maybe even have a little bit of stress and those kind of anxiety, emotions, whatever. Yeah, it could be at the work, it could be some family thing happening, or with the friends or whatever, right? So defining your day helps, as if organize yourself for happiness. I think that is the formula. But it doesn't mean that you know you just follow the comply and those kind of words
yeah,
that he was
yeah.
using.
That's what
It
comes to
is
my
not
mind.
loss of freedom that we are going towards, but if you have to change something, yeah, like
Yeah.
today, this morning, I had a rough start in the morning, right?
Mhm.
And actually that is what happened. So there was something happening, and and I just out of the blue, I thought that, okay, I need to go for a hike. So there is a lot of snow here in Peace Village, and I went in the on the trail, and I did a hike, and that really made me happy, right? It just gave me that time to be with myself, to go over what happened, and in my own way. So be spontaneous too. Yeah, don't just follow your timetable most of the day. Don't be too flexible also, but
Yeah.
there are times when within, right, that this is what will make you happy. So
Yeah.
go.
I think me thinking about loss of freedom, sometimes I also feel that this is a deceptive way of myself, which does not want to break out of habits. And sometimes I try to justify it by saying that if I do this, then this is a loss of freedom. But I do realize that, as I think somebody said, be mindful of mind the mind. So I think it's about that. So yeah, nicely said. I agree. Yeah.
Maybe I would just want to quickly touch the other two also.
Okay.
I slide, I think, on donor. Do you want to quickly splash it so that?
Give me 1 second. So the other slide about, are we talking about this slide?
Yes, who are
Okay.
happy. So maybe
Sure.
you can take a minute to think over whether takers are happy, havers are happy, beggars are happy, givers are happy, or robbers are happy. Maybe we can write in the chat if you would like. Givers. Yes, Anita says givers. Stephen also says givers. Upti also says givers. Everybody is saying givers. What about havers? Why aren't havers happy? Havers are those who have everything, right?
Yeah.
So if I have a good relationship, I have a good family, friends, I have all the wealth that I can think of, why am I not happy? Giving is receiving.
Because, yeah.
Yeah.
Because once I have it, then somehow the the desire to something else kicks in. Right? What you have it, you lose it. I mean, it in a way you lose it, because then you think you have it, and then you think that something else is more important. Something else is more important. I don't know. I was also thinking, I mean, yeah, it sounds like even in the small moments when you are a giver, probably that's thing. But ultimately, I would say it's because of the old habits, or because of this false identities that we have. Most of the time, I can say for myself, I behave as a taker, or maybe a haver, right? That I want this or I need this. Then rather, yeah, there are some moments where you I become a giver, but for the most part, probably no. And I think that's what I think on the previous slide also you were pointing to when you were saying be a donor, right? So I guess, and again, this is also one of the things that mind, I'm thinking that if you have to take something, your mind is very active in, but when you have to give something, you would probably, I think, of procrastinating. Okay, I can do this later, or something very small things, or yeah. So it feels like that this is also something that needs to be at least actively pursued, to train the mind, at least. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Yeah. No, like someone said in the chat, that
Mhm.
giving is receiving actually. And currently, many of us may be thinking that, oh, I don't have to give, right? I don't have enough to give, right? But again, spiritual knowledge is telling us that the more you give, the more you receive actually. So
Mhm.
it's a joy that is beyond words, uh, that cannot be expressed. The selfless giving, especially giving also without expectations, right? That you will not get anything in return. So when there is, for example, less, there is already, you just have one sandwich, for example, right, with you, and you packed it with great care and with all the vegan and the gluten free things, healthy things, organic things, and you thought that on your way to office or to work you will have it, and you're really hungry, but then you see someone else on the train and you want to give it. That happiness out of giving is something that cannot be really expressed, but that happiness is invaluable if one can do that kind of giving. So society, I mean, even medically, they say that giving is one of the best things one can do to make oneself happy. And we'll discover how, the more we give, even if we think that we just have one sandwich or we don't have enough, right? The more we start to give, the more we start to get to, right? So
Yeah.
um,
Can
that's,
I just, sorry to interrupt you. I think we are running out of scheduled time here, and we were also supposed to spend the last. We can't leave the session without, I guess, a meditation practice, or a little bit of practice of what you said, through some commentaries from you, if you can. You know.
sure. And anyone wants to share any of your thoughts, please feel free. After the meditation, we can stay for another few minutes to
Yeah.
discuss. So we take a good sitting posture. You can choose a chair or your sofa, or you can sit on the ground. You can cross your legs, or you can just put your feet firm on the ground, flat, and just make your back straight, head in a raised position. Just keep your body relaxed, not too relaxed. I know it's evening time, we may feel sleepy, but just make sure that the mind is alert. And one thing that helps keep the mind alert is to keep the eyes open. If you're comfortable, feel free to keep the eyes open. You can choose any point or fixed position, fixed point in front of you, and gently rest your gaze on that point. And we see with the eye of the mind the true self, the point of light. This point of light, the soul, is sitting behind the eyes. The one who's free from the body. And we travel from away from the body into the true home of this point of light, which is a world of light. In the sky, beyond the sky, this point of light is aware that he's imperishable, immortal. And he's very secure in this constancy, constancy of the true self that is perfect, happy always. There is nothing that can give him sorrow. Sorrow belongs to the physical world that is temporary in nature, that has an end. And so the choice to be free from this physical world is obvious to the point of light who's connected to the home of light, connected to the true self. In this world, one can see the highest and the best for the self, the perfect state that is the original state. as a point of light. And so for the next 24 hours, we keep an aim to be free, free from everything that is old, including habits or the past, free from expectations, free from falsehood. And the more one becomes free, the more one can experience this original state of bliss. It takes a minute, a second to be free. Just a shift in the awareness, in the thoughts, can make us free. Shanti. Thank you. And it was really nice to have you all today. Maybe Brother Sandeep wants to add something.
I just want to say thank you.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll see you again next month on the first Monday of the month, the same time. Okay.